The mission begins. Commander Jack Wilson adjusted his helmet, his eyes scanning the dense alien jungle around him. The thick blue foliage shimmered under the twin moons of Erathos, an alien planet far from Earth. The mission was simple on paper: infiltrate the alien empire's territory, retrieve critical intelligence, and return to Earth undetected. But Jack knew better. Missions like these were never simple. Jack crouched low, his boots crunching softly against the iridescent leaves. His body was tense, every muscle ready for action. The air was thick and damp, carrying unfamiliar scents. This wasn't his first mission behind enemy lines, but something about this one felt different, personal. As Jack moved silently through the jungle, his mind wandered to the medallion in his pocket. He had found it a few days ago in an abandoned alien outpost. The intricate design of the medallion wasn't what caught his attention. It was the small engraving on the back. It read, "To Mia, my best friend. Always." Mia. The name felt like a punch to the chest. It had been years since Jack had thought about her. She was his childhood friend, the one person who had always believed in him. But Mia had disappeared when they were just kids, leaving behind nothing but memories. The medallion couldn't be hers, could it? A rustling sound snapped Jack out of his thoughts. He froze, his hand instinctively gripping his plasma rifle. His eyes darted around, searching for the source. The jungle was alive with movement, but Jack's instincts told him this wasn't just wildlife. Moments later, a patrol of alien soldiers emerged from the shadows, their sleek armor reflecting the moonlight. Jack's heart pounded in his chest as he pressed himself against a tree, trying to stay hidden. The aliens spoke in a guttural language he couldn't understand, their voices low but tense. Jack's fingers tightened around his weapon. He could take them out. He'd done it before. But firing now would blow his cover and jeopardize the mission. He had to be smart. As the patrol moved past him, Jack's gaze fell on the insignia on their armor, a golden crest shaped like a rising sun. He had seen that symbol before. It was the emblem of the alien empire's royal family. Why would royal guards be patrolling this far out? Jack's mission brief hadn't mentioned anything about the royal family being involved. Something was definitely off. Once the patrol was out of sight, Jack moved quickly but carefully. His destination was a hidden outpost on the outskirts of the alien capital. According to his intel, it held vital information about the Empire's plans, information that could mean the difference between peace and all-out war. As Jack approached the outpost, he noticed something unusual. The structure wasn't like the other alien buildings he had seen. It was ancient, with vines creeping up its sides and glowing runes etched into the stone. The place seemed abandoned, yet Jack couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Inside, the outpost was eerily quiet. Jack's footsteps echoed as he walked down the dimly lit corridor. His eyes scanned every corner, his weapon ready. Finally, he reached a central chamber filled with holographic displays and strange alien artifacts. Jack's attention was immediately drawn to a pedestal in the center of the room. On it sat a glowing orb, pulsating with a soft blue light. His briefing mentioned this, a memory core containing encrypted data about the Empire's military strategies. As Jack reached for the orb, a faint sound made him pause. It was a whisper, soft and fleeting, but it sent a chill down his spine. He spun around, his weapon raised, but the room was empty. "Focus, Jack," he muttered to himself, shaking off the unease. He grabbed the orb and placed it in his bag, but as he turned to leave, his eyes caught something on the wall. There among the alien runes was a familiar symbol, the same design as the medallion in his pocket. Jack's breath hitched. He pulled out the medallion and held it up, comparing the two. They were identical. "What is this place?" Jack whispered, his mind racing. Before he could process the discovery, the sound of footsteps echoed through the corridor. Jack's heart pounded as he realized the alien patrol had found him. He quickly scanned the room for an exit and spotted a narrow vent above the pedestal. Without hesitation, Jack climbed up and squeezed into the vent, clutching the orb tightly. As he crawled through the vent, he could hear the aliens searching the room below. Their guttural voices grew louder, and Jack knew he didn't have much time. Finally, he emerged outside, back into the jungle. He didn't stop to catch his breath. He ran, the medallion and orb weighing heavily in his pocket. As the twin moons lit his path, Jack's mind was a whirlwind of questions. How was the medallion connected to this mission? Was Mia somehow involved in the alien empire? Jack didn't have the answers yet, but one thing was clear. This mission was far more personal than he ever could have imagined, and he was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The alien princess. The grand city of Erathos Prime loomed ahead, a breathtaking blend of towering spires and shimmering force fields. Its streets glowed faintly with alien energy, and floating platforms carried citizens through the air like graceful birds. To any outsider, the city was a marvel of technology and culture, but to Commander Jack Wilson, it was enemy territory. Every step he took into the city's outskirts felt like a gamble with death. Jack had managed to slip past the outer guards, thanks to a stolen identity chip he had picked up during his escape from the jungle patrol. Now, disguised as a low-ranking merchant, he blended into the bustling crowds. Aliens of all shapes and sizes surrounded him, their voices a cacophony of languages he couldn't understand. Some walked on multiple legs, others floated without a discernible body structure. Yet, none paid him much attention, and Jack took full advantage of their indifference. His goal was the Imperial Palace at the city's center, a massive structure that glittered like a diamond under the sunlight. The palace wasn't just the home of the royal family. It was also the nerve center of the Empire's military operations. If he was going to find answers about the medallion and the mysterious Princess Zia, that was where he needed to be. Jack stopped at a bustling marketplace, pretending to examine exotic goods while scanning the area. A holographic display caught his eye, projecting an image of an alien woman with striking features. Her eyes glowed faintly, her silver hair cascading down her shoulders like liquid metal. She wore a crown made of interlocking golden threads and a long cape adorned with the Empire's crest. It was Princess Zia. Her Royal Highness will address the citizens tonight at the Moonlit Festival, a voice announced in broken English through the hologram. All are welcome to attend. Jack's heart raced as he stared at the hologram. There, around Zia's neck, hung the medallion. It gleamed in the light, unmistakable in its design. Jack's mind reeled. Could it really be her? Could Zia, the alien princess, be Mia, the girl he had once known and lost? Before Jack could linger on the thought, a sharp voice barked behind him. "Merchant, what are you doing here?" Jack turned slowly, forcing himself to stay calm. A towering alien guard stood before him, his armor gleaming under the sun. The guard's piercing eyes studied Jack suspiciously. "I'm just passing through," Jack said, keeping his voice steady. "Looking for goods to trade." The guard narrowed his eyes, then motioned for Jack to move along. Jack offered a polite nod and slipped back into the crowd, his mind racing. By nightfall, the city was alive with activity. The Moonlit Festival had transformed the streets into a vibrant sea of lights and music. Vendors shouted over the noise, selling everything from glowing fruits to intricate jewelry. Jack moved through the crowds, his eyes fixed on the palace. As he approached, he noticed something unusual. The guards stationed at the palace gates weren't the usual soldiers he had seen throughout the city. These were royal guards, their armor more ornate, their expressions cold and disciplined. They stood in pairs, scanning the crowd with sharp, calculating eyes. Jack couldn't risk walking through the front gates, so he circled the perimeter, searching for another way in. His gaze landed on a service entrance guarded by a single soldier. It was risky, but Jack had no choice. Timing his move with the loud bursts of festival fireworks, Jack slipped behind a stack of crates near the entrance. As the guard turned to investigate the noise, Jack acted swiftly, knocking him out with the butt of his rifle. He dragged the unconscious alien into the shadows, then slipped through the door. Inside, the palace was even more magnificent than Jack had imagined. The halls were lined with intricate murals depicting the Empire's history, and glowing crystals embedded in the walls cast a soft, ethereal light. But Jack couldn't afford to admire the decor. He moved quickly, keeping to the shadows as he made his way toward the throne room. It wasn't long before he found himself standing at the edge of a grand hall. A crowd of nobles had gathered, their eyes fixed on the raised platform at the far end. There, sitting on an ornate throne, was Princess Zia. Jack's breath caught in his throat. She was even more striking in person, her regal demeanor commanding the attention of everyone in the room. But it wasn't just her appearance that stunned him. It was the way she carried herself, the way she spoke with quiet authority. Yet beneath all that, Jack saw something else, a hint of sadness in her eyes, a longing she couldn't hide. As he watched, Zia stood and addressed the crowd, her voice resonating through the hall. Though Jack couldn't understand her words, he felt the power behind them. She wasn't just a figurehead, she was a leader. Suddenly, Zia's gaze shifted, scanning the crowd. Jack froze as her eyes locked onto his. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then something flickered in her expression, recognition. Before Jack could react, a guard shouted, pointing directly at him. The room erupted into chaos as soldiers surged toward him. Jack's cover was blown. He bolted, dodging through the crowd as Zia's voice rang out, commanding the guards to capture him. Jack's heart pounded as he searched for an exit, but the soldiers were closing in fast. Just as they were about to seize him, Zia raised her hand. "Stop," she commanded in perfect English. The guards hesitated, and the room fell silent. Zia stepped forward, her eyes never leaving Jack. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice steady but filled with curiosity. Jack hesitated, then pulled the medallion from his pocket and held it up. "I think you already know," he said. Zia's eyes widened, and for the first time, her regal composure faltered. "Mia," Jack said softly. The room seemed to hold its breath as Zia stared at him, her expression a mix of shock and confusion. "I don't know who you are," she said finally, though her voice betrayed her uncertainty. "But you have much to explain." Guards moved to grab Jack, but Zia raised her hand again, stopping them. "Bring him to my chambers," she ordered, her voice firm. As Jack was escorted away, his mind raced with questions. The woman he had once known as Mia was now a princess of an alien empire. But how? And, more importantly, what had she become? The face behind the mask. The door to the princess's chambers closed with a soft hiss, leaving Jack alone with Zia. The room was unlike anything he had imagined. The walls glowed faintly with a soft silver hue, and an enormous window offered a breathtaking view of Erathos Prime, its lights shimmering like a galaxy below. Despite the alien grandeur, there were small details that felt familiar. A stack of old books, human books, sat neatly on a shelf. A faded stuffed bear rested on a nearby couch. Jack's breath caught as he recognized it. The bear was Mia's. "Speak," Zia commanded, her voice sharp. She stood near the window, her back to Jack. Her silver hair shimmered under the ambient light, cascading like a waterfall. Though she appeared calm, her rigid posture betrayed her tension. Jack hesitated. He had rehearsed 1,000 things he wanted to say if he ever found Mia again, but none of them seemed right now. He pulled the medallion from his pocket and held it up. "This belonged to you," he said quietly. Zia turned, her glowing eyes locking onto the medallion. For a moment, her mask of composure slipped. She took a step forward, then stopped herself, her expression hardening. "That's impossible," she said. "I've never seen you before." Jack frowned. "You don't remember? We grew up together, back on Earth. You were taken when we were kids, disappeared without a trace. I thought you were gone forever." Zia's eyes narrowed, and she shook her head. "You're mistaken. I am Princess Zia of the Erathos Empire, daughter of Emperor Ulzor. I have no connection to Earth. Jack took a step closer, his voice soft but firm. Then why do you have this? He held the medallion higher. It's engraved with your name, Mia. For a moment, Zaya said nothing. Her glowing eyes flicked to the medallion, then to Jack's face. A flicker of something. Uncertainty, fear, or maybe recognition, crossed her expression. You need to leave, she said abruptly, turning away from him. Jack wasn't going to let her shut him out. You were taken, Mia, don't you remember? The day at the park. We were playing hide and seek. I couldn't find you. Hours passed, and when I went to tell your parents, they said you were gone. There were reports of lights in the sky. An alien ship. Zaya froze. Her shoulders stiffened, and her hands clenched at her sides. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, but her voice was less certain now. Jack pressed on, his tone more urgent. You don't have to pretend with me. If you're afraid of your father, I can help you. I came here to stop a war, but if you're involved, I can't ignore that. You're not just some alien princess. You're human. You're Mia. Zaya turned back to him, her expression a storm of emotions. Anger, confusion, and something deeper, something fragile. You think I'm human? She asked, her voice sharp. Do I look human to you? Jack held her gaze. You don't, but that doesn't change who you are inside. They might have changed you, taken you from us. But I know it's you. I can see it in your eyes. Zia stared at him, her glowing eyes searching his face as if trying to find a lie. Slowly, she reached up and unclasped the medallion around her neck. Holding it in her hand, she studied it as though seeing it for the first time. I've always had this, she admitted quietly, but I never knew where it came from. My father said it was a gift from my birth mother. I thought it was just a trinket. Jack's heart pounded. It's not just a trinket. It's proof of who you are, who you were. Zaya's grip on the medallion tightened, and for a moment, she looked utterly lost. Then her expression hardened again. She straightened, her regal composure returning like a shield. Even if what you say is true, it doesn't matter, she said. I am Princess Zaya of the Erathos Empire. My loyalty is to my people. Your people are planning to invade Earth, Jack said sharply. Do you know that? Are you part of that plan? Zaya's eyes widened slightly, but she quickly masked her reaction. Earth is a threat to our empire, she said. My father has always said. Your father is lying to you, Jack interrupted, just like he's lied to you about who you are. Zia's jaw tightened, and for a moment, Jack thought she might order the guards to take him away. But instead, she turned back to the window, her gaze distant. My father has told me many things, she said softly, but he has never lied to me. Not about anything important. Jack stepped closer, his voice gentle. Then ask him. Ask him about Earth, about the medallion, about me. If he's telling the truth, what do you have to lose? Zaya didn't respond immediately. She stood in silence, staring out at the city below. Finally, she turned to Jack, her expression unreadable. I'll consider it, she said, but you will remain here until I decide what to do with you. Jack nodded, knowing it was the best he could hope for. As the guards returned to escort him out, he glanced back at Zaya. For a brief moment, their eyes met, and Jack thought he saw something in her gaze, a flicker of the girl he once knew. As the doors closed behind him, Jack's mind raced. He was closer than ever to the truth, but the stakes had never been higher. If Jia remembered who she truly was, she could be the key to saving Earth. But if she didn't, she might be its destruction. A shocking reunion. Jack sat in the dimly lit cell, his thoughts swirling like a storm. The cold metal walls of the alien detention room seemed to close in on him, amplifying the weight of everything that had happened. Mia, no, Zaya, was alive. But she was no longer the girl he remembered. She was a princess of the very empire planning to destroy Earth. Could he convince her to remember her past before it was too late? The door slid open with a soft hiss, breaking Jack's thoughts. Two guards entered, their imposing figures casting long shadows across the room. One of them motioned for Jack to stand. "She has summoned you," the guard said in a clipped tone. Jack rose, his muscles tense. He didn't know what to expect, but he wasn't about to waste this opportunity. As the guards escorted him through the labyrinthine halls of the palace, Jack couldn't help but notice the stark contrast between its grandeur and his own tension. The glowing rooms, the floating chandeliers, the silent hum of alien energy. It was all designed to inspire awe. But to Jack, it felt like a gilded cage. Finally, they arrived at a set of towering doors. The guards pushed them open, revealing a private chamber bathed in soft blue light. Zaya stood near a circular table in the center, her silver hair shimmering under the glow of a large crystal hovering above. "Leave us," she commanded the guards without looking at them. Her voice was steady, but there was a tension in her posture that Jack didn't miss. The guards hesitated for a moment, then stepped out, the doors closing behind them with a resonant thud. Zaya turned to Jack, her expression guarded. "You have 5 minutes. Speak." Jack stepped forward, choosing his words carefully. "You're not who you think you are, Zaya. I don't know what they've told you, but you're human. You were born on Earth. You had a family, friends. And you believe I'm this." "Mia," Zaya interrupted, her glowing eyes narrowing. "You are Mia," Jack insisted, pulling the medallion from his pocket and holding it out. "This is yours. It was a gift from your parents. I've kept it with me all these years, hoping I'd find you." Zaya stared at the medallion, her lips pressing into a thin line. Slowly, she reached out and took it from his hand. Her fingers brushed against the engraving. And for a moment, her expression softened. "I've always had this," she said quietly. "I thought it was just an heirloom, a relic of my past. But now," she trailed off, her voice trembling ever so slightly. Jack seized the moment. "Do you remember anything? Anything at all? Your family? The park? The games we used to play?" Zaya shook her head, her silver hair falling over her shoulders. "No. My earliest memory is waking up in this palace. My father told me I was rescued as a child, taken from a dying world. He raised me, trained me to lead our people." "He lied to you," Jack said, his voice filled with urgency. "You weren't rescued. You were taken, abducted. They erased your memories, made you into someone else. But you're still in there, Mia. I know you are." Zaya's hands clenched around the medallion, her glowing eyes clouding with doubt. "Even if that's true," she said, her voice rising, "what difference does it make? This is my life now. These are my people. My duty is to them." "Your duty is to the truth," Jack countered. "If they lied to you about your past, what else have they lied about? The war with Earth. The reasons behind it. Don't you want to know?" Zaya turned away, walking toward the window. She stared out at the city below, her reflection faintly visible in the glass. "You don't understand," she said softly. "My father, he's not just a leader. He's a symbol. To question him is to betray everything I've been taught to believe." Jack took a step closer. "Sometimes questioning is the only way to find the truth. If you really believe in the Empire, don't you owe it to yourself and your people to know the whole story?" For a long moment, Zaya said nothing. The room was so quiet that Jack could hear the faint hum of the energy crystals above. Finally, she turned back to him, her expression conflicted. "There's a place," she said hesitantly, "a vault beneath the palace. It holds records, old records, about the Empire's history. If what you're saying is true, the answers might be there." Jack's heart leaped. "Then let's go." Zaya shook her head. "It's not that simple. The vault is heavily guarded, and I'd need my father's authorization to access it, if he finds out." She didn't finish the sentence, but the fear in her eyes was enough. Then we'll do it without his permission, Jack said firmly. Zaya hesitated, her gaze dropping to the medallion in her hand. For the first time, she looked truly vulnerable. If I do this, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, it could change everything. For me. For the Empire. Jack stepped closer, his voice soft but determined. Sometimes change is exactly what we need. You don't have to do this alone, Mia. I'm here. I've always been here. Zaya looked up at him, and for a fleeting moment, Jack thought he saw a flicker of the girl he had known, the girl who had once been his best friend. Let's go, she said finally. As they left the chamber together, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The truth they were about to uncover could either save Earth or doom it forever. The Emperor's wrath. The hidden vault beneath the palace was a place of legend, even among the Empire's elite. Few had ever seen it, and fewer still knew the truth of what lay within. Jack followed Zia through a series of dark, twisting corridors, his heart pounding with both anticipation and dread. The air grew colder with each step, the hum of the palace's energy fading into an eerie silence. Zaya stopped at a massive door carved from a dark, metallic material that seemed to absorb the light. Strange alien symbols pulsed faintly across its surface, glowing in rhythmic patterns. This is it, she said quietly. Jack studied the door. How do we get in? Zaya hesitated, then reached for a control panel embedded in the wall. She placed her hand on it, and the panel lit up, scanning her palm. A deep, resonant chime echoed through the corridor, and the door began to shift. The metallic surface folded inward, revealing a narrow passage lined with glowing runes. The faint hum of energy returned, this time accompanied by a low, almost imperceptible whispering sound. What is that? Jack asked, his voice low. Memories, Zaya said, her expression unreadable. The vault isn't just a storage facility. It's alive. It holds the recorded consciousness of our ancestors, the rulers of the Empire. Jack shivered. Sounds comforting. Zaya gave him a wry look. It's not meant to be. They stepped inside, and the door sealed shut behind them. The passage opened into a vast chamber, its walls covered in shimmering crystalline structures. Floating in the center of the room was a massive orb of energy, pulsating with an otherworldly light. Around it, holographic projections flickered to life, displaying fragments of history, maps, and faces. Zia approached the orb, her footsteps echoing in the stillness. She reached out, and the light shifted, responding to her touch. "Show me Earth," she commanded. The orb dimmed, then projected an image of Earth as seen from space. It was beautiful, its blue and green surface glowing against the darkness. But the peaceful image was soon replaced by chaos. Alien ships descending on cities, entire regions engulfed in flames, and millions of humans fleeing in terror. Jack's stomach churned. This is what they're planning, isn't it? Zia didn't answer. Her glowing eyes were fixed on the image, her expression unreadable. She reached out again, and the projection shifted. This time, it showed a document written in the alien script. Zia traced the symbols with her fingers, her brow furrowing as she read. "This isn't just an invasion," she said, her voice trembling. "It's a cleansing. My father believes humanity is a threat to the galaxy's balance. He's convinced that eliminating your kind is the only way to secure the future." Jack felt a surge of anger. "And you believe him?" Zia hesitated, her hand hovering over the projection. "I don't know what to believe anymore," she admitted. "But there's more. This document, it's dated over 20 years ago. The invasion plan has been in place since before I was born, or at least before I thought I was born." Jack stepped closer, his voice urgent. "Then this proves it. Your father's been lying to you from the start. He's been preparing for this war long before Earth ever posed a threat, and he's used you as part of his plan." Zaya's hands clenched into fists, and for a moment, Jack thought she might lash out. But instead, she turned to the orb again, her voice sharp. "Show me the truth." Show me where I came from." The orb pulsed, and the image changed once more. This time, it showed a human child, dark-haired, laughing, and running through a park. Jack's breath caught. It was Mia. The projection shifted, showing an alien ship descending, its beams of light scanning the area. The child looked up, her expression filled with wonder and fear. Moments later, the light engulfed her, and she vanished. Zaya staggered back, her hand flying to her chest. "No," she whispered. "That can't be." "It's you," Jack said, his voice thick with emotion. "That's who you are, Zaya. That's where you came from. Your father took you from Earth, erased your memories, and turned you into his weapon." Before Zaya could respond, the chamber shook violently. A deafening roar echoed through the room, and the walls trembled as if the palace itself were alive. "The Emperor," Zaya said, her voice filled with dread. "He knows we're here." The door to the vault exploded inward, and Emperor Alzor entered, flanked by a squad of heavily armed guards. His imposing figure radiated power, his golden armor glowing with an intense light. His piercing eyes locked onto Zia, then shifted to Jack. "You dare defile the sacred vault," the Emperor thundered, his voice reverberating through the chamber. "I trusted you, Zaya. I raised you, gave you everything. And this is how you repay me." Zaya stepped forward, her expression fierce despite the fear in her eyes. "You lied to me," she said, her voice steady. "You lied about everything. About Earth, about me. You stole my life." The Emperor's expression darkened. "I saved you," he snarled. "You were nothing, a weak, insignificant child on a dying planet. I gave you purpose. I made you strong." "You made me a pawn," Zaya shot back. "But no more." The Emperor raised his hand, and the guards aimed their weapons at Jack. "You've been corrupted by this human," he said. "But I can fix you. I can make you see reason." Jack stepped forward, his weapon raised. "She doesn't need fixing," he said. "She's finally seeing the truth." The Emperor sneered. "You think you can challenge me, human? You are nothing." Zia's glowing eyes narrowed. He's not alone. With a flick of her wrist, Zaya summoned a surge of energy from the orb, sending the guards flying. The Emperor roared in fury, his own power flaring as he prepared to strike. Jack and Zaya stood side by side, ready to face the wrath of the most powerful being in the Empire. The battle for the truth and the future had begun. The Great Escape. The room erupted into chaos as Zia's energy blast sent the Imperial Guard scattering. The glowing orb in the center of the vault pulsed wildly, reacting to the tension in the air. Emperor Alzor, unfazed by the commotion, stood tall amidst the wreckage, his golden armor gleaming like the surface of a star. "You've sealed your fate, Zia," he growled, his voice dripping with menace. "You've chosen treason over loyalty. You've chosen weakness over strength." "No," Zia shot back, stepping forward with fiery determination. "I've chosen the truth." The Emperor's expression hardened, and with a flick of his hand, a surge of golden energy shot toward her. Zaya raised her arms, forming a shimmering blue shield that absorbed the blast, but the force sent her skidding backward. "Jack, get to the exit," Zaya shouted, her voice trained. Jack hesitated for a split second, his instincts screaming at him to stay and fight. But he knew she was right. If they didn't escape now, their mission would fail. He bolted toward the side of the room, where a secondary passage glimmered faintly, his pulse pounding in his ears. Behind him, Zaya and the Emperor exchanged blows, their powers colliding in flashes of light that illuminated the entire vault. Each strike from Alzor seemed to shake the very foundation of the palace, while Zia's counters sent arcs of energy crackling through the air. "You are my daughter," Alzor bellowed as he unleashed another wave of golden light. "You were born to lead this empire, to bring balance to the galaxy, and you would throw it all away for them. I was never yours," Zaya cried, her voice echoing with raw emotion. She launched a blast of energy that struck Alzor squarely in the chest, forcing him to stumble. "You stole me. You lied to me. And I'll never be your weapon again." Jack reached the passage and turned back, his weapon raised. "Zia, we need to go. Now." Zia glanced at him, her glowing eyes filled with resolve. With a final burst of energy, she pushed the Emperor back, creating a barrier of light between them. "This isn't over, Father," she said coldly. Alzor's laughter rang out, dark and ominous. "Run, if you must. But you cannot escape your destiny, Zia. You will return to me, or you will perish alongside your precious humans." Ignoring his words, Zia sprinted toward Jack, her breathing heavy but her determination unshaken. Together, they plunged into the narrow passage, the sound of alarms blaring behind them. The escape route twisted and turned, the walls glowing faintly with alien runes. Jack led the way, his senses on high alert. "How do we get out of here?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "There's a service lift ahead," Zia replied. "It leads to the hangar bay. If we can reach a ship, we can get off this planet." "And then what?" Jack pressed. Zia hesitated. "We regroup. We warn Earth. And we fight." Jack nodded, his grip tightening on his weapon. The stakes had never felt higher, but he trusted Zia. Despite everything, he believed in her. They reached the lift, but as Zia activated the controls, the sound of footsteps echoed from behind. Jack spun around, his weapon aimed, as a squad of guards appeared at the far end of the corridor. "Keep them busy," Zia shouted as she worked on the controls. Jack didn't need to be told twice. He fired a volley of plasma shots, forcing the guards to take cover. The corridor lit up with the flashes of energy weapons as the guards returned fire, their bolts sizzling past Jack's head. "Hurry, Zia," he called, ducking behind a pillar for cover. "I'm trying," she snapped, her fingers flying over the controls. "The system's locked. It's going to take a minute." "We don't have a minute," Jack yelled as another shot narrowly missed him. Zia gritted her teeth and slammed her palm against the panel. The lift doors finally opened with a soft chime. "Get in." Jack fired one last shot to keep the guards at bay, then dove into the lift. Zia followed, slamming her hand on the control panel. The doors slid shut just as the guards opened fire, their shots bouncing harmlessly off the reinforced metal. The lift descended rapidly, the hum of its energy systems filling the silence. Jack leaned against the wall, catching his breath. That was close. Zia gave him a small, tired smile. "It's not over yet." The lift opened into the hangar bay, a sprawling expanse filled with alien ships of all shapes and sizes. Zia led Jack toward a sleek, mid-sized craft with an iridescent hull that shimmered like water under moonlight. "This one," she said, running to the cockpit controls. Jack followed, his eyes scanning the hangar for signs of pursuit. Sure enough, the sound of alarms grew louder, and he spotted a group of guards entering the bay. "We've got company," he said, climbing into the co-pilot's seat. Zia's hands flew over the controls, and the ship roared to life. "Hold on," she warned as the craft lifted off the ground. The guards opened fire, their energy blasts ricocheting off the ship's shields. Zia guided the vessel toward the hangar's exit, weaving to avoid the incoming shots. As they soared into the open sky, Jack glanced back to see the palace shrinking into the distance. For the first time in what felt like forever, he allowed himself a moment of hope. But Zia's expression remained tense. "This isn't the end," she said, her voice low. "My father won't stop. He'll hunt us to the ends of the galaxy if he has to." Jack nodded. "Then we'll make sure he doesn't get the chance." As the stars stretched out before them, Jack and Zia knew they were on borrowed time. The war was coming, and the choices they made in the days ahead would determine the fate of both Earth and the Empire. For now, though, they had escaped, and that was a victory in itself, a battle for peace. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a cold, silent reminder of the vastness of the galaxy. Jack sat in the co-pilot's seat, staring out at the dark void. Zaya piloted the ship with steady hands, her glowing eyes fixed on the navigation screen. For a moment, the silence between them felt heavier than the space around them. "We'll reach Earth's orbit in an hour," Zaya said, breaking the stillness. Jack nodded, his jaw tight. "And what then? Your father's fleet is probably already on its way." Zaya's fingers tightened on the controls. "They are. He'll come with everything he has. But we're not defenseless. I know the Empire's tactics, their weaknesses. We can use that." Jack glanced at her. "Do you think Earth's leaders will trust you, after everything?" Zaya hesitated, the glow in her eyes dimming slightly. "I don't know. But they'll have to, if they want to survive." When they entered Earth's atmosphere, the first thing they saw was chaos. Military ships swarmed the skies, their formations tight as they prepared for an inevitable assault. The sight filled Jack with both pride and dread. Humanity wasn't going to back down, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Zaya brought the ship down near a hidden resistance base in the Rocky Mountains, its location known only to a handful of Earth's leaders. As they landed, a squad of armed soldiers surrounded the craft, their weapons aimed and ready. The hatch opened, and Jack stepped out first, raising his hands. "Stand down. She's with me." The soldiers didn't lower their weapons. One of them, a grizzled officer with a scar across his face, stepped forward. "Commander Wilson, you've got some explaining to do." "Who's the alien?" Jack glanced back at Zita, who emerged slowly, her silver hair catching the sunlight. The soldiers tensed, their fingers hovering over their triggers. "She's the key to stopping the invasion," Jack said firmly. "But we don't have much time." Inside the base, the tension was palpable. Military officials and scientists crowded around as Jack and Zia briefed them on the Empire's plans. Zaya stood tall, her voice steady as she laid out the Emperor's strategy, the strengths and weaknesses of the fleet, and the locations of their most vulnerable points. "You expect us to trust her?" One of the officials snapped, his face red with anger. "She's one of them." "She's not one of them," Jack shot back. "She's human, like us. She was taken, brainwashed, and now she's risking everything to help us." Zaya raised her hand, silencing the room. "I understand your distrust," she said, her voice calm but firm. "But I'm here because I believe in your fight. The Empire isn't invincible. If we work together, we can stop them." The room fell silent. The officials exchanged wary glances, but it was clear they had little choice. The invasion was imminent, and Zaya's knowledge might be their only hope. As the hours passed, the resistance prepared for battle. Zaya worked tirelessly, coordinating with Earth's leaders to develop a counter-strategy. Jack stayed by her side, offering support and reassurance. Despite the odds, a spark of hope began to grow. When the Empire's fleet arrived, the sky turned dark with their ships. Massive carriers and smaller attack crafts descended like a swarm, their weapons glinting menacingly in the sunlight. Earth's defenses mobilized, every soldier and pilot ready to fight for their survival. Zaya stood at the command center, her glowing eyes scanning the tactical displays. "Focus fire on the carriers," she instructed. "Their shields are strong, but their engines are vulnerable. Disable them, and the smaller ships will falter." The battle erupted with a deafening roar. Explosions lit up the skies as Earth's forces clashed with the invaders. Zia's knowledge proved invaluable. Her insights allowed humanity to hold their ground, despite the Empire's superior firepower. But the Emperor wasn't going to make it easy. Alzor's flagship, a massive vessel that dwarfed all others, emerged from the clouds. Its weapons unleashed devastating blasts that tore through Earth's defenses. At the center of the chaos, Alzor himself appeared on a holographic screen in the command center. "Zia," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. "You disappoint me. You could have stood by my side, ruled the galaxy. Instead, You choose these. Insects. They're not insects, Zaya replied, her voice like steel. They're people, and I won't let you destroy them. Alzor's eyes narrowed. Then you will fall with them. The hologram vanished, and the flagship's weapons locked onto the base. We have to take out that ship, Jack said, turning to Zia. It's the only way. Zia nodded. There's a weakness in its core. If we can get close enough, we can overload its energy matrix. It's suicide, one of the officials said. It's the only option, Zia countered. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. We'll do it together. The pair boarded a stolen alien craft and launched toward the flagship. The battle raged around them, the sky filled with streaks of light and explosions. Jack piloted the ship with precision, weaving through the chaos as Zia prepared the payload, a powerful energy disruptor capable of crippling the flagship. When they reached the flagship, the defenses were relentless. Jack pushed the ship to its limits, dodging enemy fire as Zia guided them toward the core. Finally, they reached the target. Zia activated the disruptor, and a blinding surge of energy engulfed the ship. The flagship trembled, its systems failing. Explosions rippled through its hull, and the Emperor's voice echoed over the comms. You will regret this, Zia. I already regret what I became under you, she replied, her voice calm but resolute. Goodbye, Father. As the flagship detonated, Jack and Zia barely escaped the blast. The remaining Imperial forces, leaderless and disoriented, began to retreat. The battle was over. Back on Earth, cheers erupted as the skies cleared. Humanity had won, but the cost had been great. Jack and Zia stood together, watching as survivors emerged from bunkers and soldiers embraced their loved ones. What now? Jack asked, turning to Zia. She smiled faintly. Now, we rebuild. Together. For the first time, Jack saw hope in her glowing eyes, a promise of a future where humanity and the galaxy could coexist in peace.